Thank you, Paul. Hi, everyone. Good to see familiar faces. And for those of you that haven't met me, those of you that don't know me, I'm Jane Kudos with Honeywell. I'm Director of External Communications for PMT. We're excited to be here at yet another annual ARC event. I'd like to introduce you to my colleague, Joe Bastone. He'll take the podium in a couple of minutes. Joe is the Director of our Product Offering Management, and today we're going to talk to you about our Hive suite of products, with a particular focus on Experian PKS IT Hive, which is a new technology for us and a new addition to the suite of solutions. After Joe's presentation, after our press conference here today, my colleague Ursula is going to send you guys a press release, so you'll have the scoop ahead of tomorrow's official release as a little treat for being here in the room with us today. So that said, and without further ado, I'll turn it over to Joe.
Thank you, Jane. Hello, everybody. My name is Joe Bastone. I lead the product management group for Experian. And today, I'm going to talk about unleashing a new era of automation technology. Before I start talking about this new era of automation technology, I want to take a step back and look at existing projects that we see out in the field today. I'm going to take a look at a really large project. You know, we talk about large projects, but we never really talk about what constitutes a large project. So I went online and I found a project that I know to be quite large. It's the Shell Pearl GTL project in Qatar. It was an $18 billion project that consisted of about 1,000 cabinets, 200 servers, and about 4,000 miles of cabling. To help put that in context, if you took all the cabling and laid it end to end, it would go from the facility in Qatar all the way to London. That's a pretty complex project that you're looking at there. And if you start to think about all those cabinets and all that cabling and all of that infrastructure that you put into an $18 billion project, there's a lot of customization that's going to be done. There's also a lot of work that has to be done to review engineering cabinets, has to go through review cycles, numerous review cycles. There's a lot of customization that's done that requires a lot of tribal knowledge to be on that site. So an operator or technician knows the difference between what's in cabinet 692 versus cabinet 783. So not only are there issues and challenges with trying to maintain a project even while it's in the commissioning phases, it's also challenging to maintain that over the long haul. And this doesn't even include any late changes that might come into the project. So what happens if during the course of the installation they find out, I need another piece of equipment? I don't have that equipment as part of my automation system. So all of a sudden, now I have to start scrambling. Do I need new cabinets? Do I need new controllers? How am I going to actually manage that addition to the system? So a project of this magnitude really highlights a lot of needs in order to be more nimble with how projects are deployed, and also begs for modularization and standardization. So that brings us to Experian PKS Hive, or Highly Integrated Virtual Environment. Experian PKS Hive is really made up of three major components. First, there's the I/O Hive. Second is the Control Hive. And third is the IT Hive. And we'll explore each of them in a little bit of detail to refresh the audience here. Experian PKS I/O Hive is basically distributing I/O to be an extension of modular equipment. We see this through solutions like our Universal Process Cabinet. The Universal Process Cabinet allows us to place I/O in the field near cabinets, or near equipment, and basically allows us to decouple the controller from the I/O. So no longer do I have to worry about the tight relationship between controllers and I/O that are the bane of late changes that are done on any automation system. Second is a control hive. The control hive fundamentally decouples the control strategy from physical controllers. Using the control hive, I can start to combine multiple physical controllers into one virtual controller. When I create a control strategy that's going to run on the experience system, I can assign it to the control hive, and the experience system will figure out the best controller to run that on. It'll take a look at various relationships between various control strategies to figure out the best fit. Taking a look at IT Hive, we're going to go into more detail here as it's part of the release announcement that we're making here at the ARC Forum. Experian PKS IT Hive aims to reduce the IT lifecycle cost by reducing the amount of physical IT equipment that's needed in the process facilities. Let's take a look at an example here on the next slide. Experian PKS IT Hive it essentially places the IT equipment in customer data centers. When Honeywell introduced virtualization for the industrial automation space about 10 years ago, the main driver there was to reduce the physical footprint and extend the life cycle of assets that were on the site. We've taken steps forward here from an IT Hive perspective to further reduce the footprint that's needed within the site. So let's take a look here at our high-level example. Here I have site 1 and site 2. And these could be different sites. They could be experience systems within the same facility, but these are traditional experience systems. By being able to deploy the IT Hive, I'm able to start taking advantage of data centers that customers have all over the place. And these data centers may be within the facility, they may be just outside the facility, or they could be a couple hundred miles away in a remote operations center. We have customer network connections between the sites and the data center, and we use secure FTE tunnels. So this is really an extension of the experience system from the on-premise site to a remote data center. Everything here is owned by the customer, from the site to the connections over the network to that data center. We have security here through these secure FTE tunnels. And what we're able to do here is really consolidate the footprint of what is required on the sites themselves. For example, I may have a large footprint on a site that requires significant maintenance and it just requires significant maintenance. By pushing all of the infrastructure to the data center, I can take advantage of the fact that there are cybersecurity professionals in these centralized locations. I can take advantage of being able to do common updates amongst a core group of people instead of having the process control engineers act as IT administrators in their quote-unquote spare time. Let's take a look here at some of the benefits that we see here from the IT Hive. The first is on centralized administration. Instead of having each individual site maintain their systems, installing Microsoft updates, installing AV updates, installing various patches to the control system, installing various patches for the add-on programs, you can have all of that done from a central location. This is really about optimizing the resources that you have on site. So if I have multiple systems here I'm really able to take advantage of a core set of expertise and make sure that they're able to perform those operations on all of the systems that are connected to the IT hive. We know that finding cybersecurity professionals in the OT space is very difficult. There's a very low unemployment rate for that kind of skill set. So what we're doing here is allowing a smaller set of those resources to be able to look after a larger set of systems. And we're not talking mega systems like the Pearl GTLs. These can be any customers that are out there that might have a couple Experian clusters. They can take advantage of this new infrastructure with their existing systems. This is something that really falls in line with Honeywell's legacy of supporting customers throughout the entire life cycle of the system. We don't leave any systems behind. We can bring this forward and layer this approach on top of existing Experian systems. This is a unique approach in the industry where we don't require a brand new system in order to take advantage of groundbreaking technology like this. We also have the ability to do workload balancing. So if you start to think about each individual cluster that you have either within the facility or within multiple facilities, you're no doubt going to have spare capacity in case you need to spin up additional virtual machines, or in case you need to do other activities on site, maybe during a turnaround where you have a lot of extra hands on the system performing updates and the like. Instead, you can take advantage of IT Hive to help balance that workload. When a big system is being commissioned, there's a lot of extra people that are brought in to help commission that project. And what do? They end up buying a lot of extra PCs and licenses for those systems in order to complete those activities in a fairly expeditious fashion. Why do they need to buy those extra machines? They're going to use them for maybe 6 months, maybe a year, and then as soon as they're done with them, they're just going to get put back into storage. With the workload balancing that's offered by IT Hive, they're really able to take advantage of this more elastic capacity that's offered from a data center and really go after being able to flexibly use the spare capacity amongst multiple sites. Finally, we look at cost optimization. The centralized administration, the workload balancing, those are all variations on the same cost optimization theme. You know, it's no secret that we're always being challenged to figure out how to do more with less. And what we have with IT Hive is really the ability to expand the footprint of where these scarce resources can do their work and where that spare capacity can be utilized. So in closing here, we're just going to take a look at a simple use case that really embodies everything that I've been talking about from an IT Hive perspective, but also brings in an HSE standpoint, really being able to keep people safer by not having them go on these offshore platforms. We've worked with customers in the North Sea where they're interested in deploying offshore platforms, but with the extra challenge of having them being completely unmanned, except for perhaps a couple days a quarter for routine maintenance. So how do you operate a system like that when there's nobody actually there? IT Hive here offers a perfect example for that. So we have a skeleton system that is based on the platform itself. It's just enough to run the system, to have view to the system for when those reliability guys are there or those maintenance guys are there for the couple days, a month, or a quarter that they're actually on the platform performing their activities. The other 98% of the time, it sits idle. In that case, we're using the onshore operations center. and the system is actually being run from that place. So now you don't have to worry about keeping people on that platform and figuring out how you're going to support all of those people. Instead, you take advantage of the fact that there's an onshore center, and you can actually run the system from there, use these secure tunnels to go to the unmanned offshore platform and really take advantage of your operations while keeping people from having to fly out and have 2-week stints on the platform away from their families and in a somewhat dangerous situation. So it's a win-win-win all over the place for operations because they get to stay home and they're staying onshore. For these customers, because they get to achieve the objective of having truly unmanned offshore platforms. And it wins for us because we get to sell more of the IT Hive solution. So with that, I'd like to thank you for your time, and we'll open up the floor to any questions you may have. Thank you.